This makes things easy. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our Residence Life Speaker Series. Again, today we are here with a special guest. Her name is Kyla Jenee Lacey. Everybody say hi to Kyla. Kyla, how you doing today? Good, good, good. So Kyla's spoken word has garnered millions of views and has been showcased on Afropunk, George Takei, Right About Now, All Deaf Digital, Occupy Democrats, Golden Mike TV, and so much more. She has performed her spoken word at over 200 colleges. I'm sure it's a lot more now, in over 40 states. She's been the finalist in the largest regional poetry slam in the country. Very nice. And no less than 4 times was nominated as Campus Activities Magazine Female Performer of the Year. Everyone give it up for Kyla. Oh yeah, you've also been written in some large publications like the Huffington Post, BET, and Root Magazine. You better go.
And mom.com, even though I don't have kids.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. So how are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. I'm, considering I'm, a Florida girl at heart. So it's kind of, I live in Georgia, but it's kind of hard for me I'm an ambivert. So I'm used to kind of being indoors, but I've been indoors for 2 years because I had I couldn't leave the house. So I had a car accident and depression. So now I'm like, hey, I would like to go outside. And so,
I can understand that. I saw a little interesting, and let me just say, there's a lot of interesting articles that come out of Georgia, but I saw one this week that they are now allowing kids to drive without a license.
So one of the things is, so last July, I was actually hit by a 19-year-old.
I am so sorry.
And I'm still going to like physical therapy for it. And that was July. And I can say I've lived in 3 states. I've driven in over 40. And I can say that Georgia driving is terrible. Georgia driving is, so it's kind of like normal, I guess. Like, I didn't know that they even needed to take a test here because, wow.
Oh, wow.
It's.
I just want to say I'm a connoisseur of all news.
Yeah. So. They're opening the state back up essentially. So
there's the way the country's handling this in different places is just.
Yeah, I wish it were a bit more cohesive. I think that things could, the curve could have flattened a lot sooner, but it's kind of an indication and an indictment on the American culture and the entitlement the Americans have. We are a global economy, but the United States sits so high at the top of that economy, and it essentially is a food chain. We acknowledge globalism when it's beneficial for us, but we don't acknowledge globalism when we have to participate and giving back to it. I mean, if we look at our carbon output, or if we look at the fact that so many people, we can turn a blind eye to sweatshops, we can turn a blind eye to things that don't immediately concern us or hurt us, but
immigration.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we can turn a blind eye to, immigration is bad until, but those jobs, we don't want Americans to feel like nobody wants to work the jobs that, people, work. So it's just kind of it's very American. Like, I went to Canada and they were going through my stuff in Canada. I was like very upset. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, and I was just like, for a second, I even had to like say, like, that was the dumbest thing that I could have said, like, that I had this privilege of not being treated a certain way because I was in a different country and I was an American, and there was this enlisted, privilege that I was supposed to have. And so I think that is a big reason why a lot of people are having a problem with the quarantine, is because we don't know how to do things that benefit other countries or that are good for other people. It is not, a part of the fabric of who we are.
Right. You have any funny quarantine stories since you've been locked up? I say we're all being locked out. I think we're all on house arrest right now.
Do I? Not really. I've actually been like pretty chill, just kind of getting, stuff out of the way and work and it's actually been a pretty productive quarantine. So.
Okay. Well, listen, I finished all my housework. I literally have nothing else left to do.
There was a lot of painting, and there's a garden.
Okay.
So I have romaine lettuce now, and
Okay.
asparagus. Asparagus has flowers on it. It's actually a plant with flowers.
Nice, nice,
So
nice,
are
nice.
strawberries.
In
So
the
we
word, in the words of one of my female friends, she said, I said, what have you accomplished during this whole, quarantine thing? And she looked me right in my face and said, I have finished Netflix.
listen. I feel like if your eyebrows don't grow back to their original luster during this time, what were you doing?
Right, right. Listen, there's a lot. Leah has seen me, but on these broadcasts, I've literally been wearing a hat. It's a hat that benefits my company, diversity awareness program. I do diversity training.
Okay.
But the real reason why I'm wearing this hat is because I have so much hair up here that I never see. I'm always bald, and I'm just like, you know what?
I have never seen this much hair on Justin, and I've known him for 4 years. Like, he looks a different person.
Like a grizzly.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Listen,
it's crazy, and I'm not willing to take a razor to my head. I'm just gonna let this go out. This is the furthest my beard has been out.
mine too.
A little, keep it a little in check. But we'll see what happens. This can't last.
I honestly may not go back from quarantine chic. I may just be, t-shirt or blouse and pajama pants for the rest of my days,
Okay.
And house shoes, out in public. Don't care.
Right.
Well, it's not even socially acceptable.
Right. Well, like my wife, she's a school teacher, so she is taking up some of the room. We still have our offices, so occasionally I'll go down to my office, and I'll do my work in my office. But if I don't feel like walking down to my office, I might stay home. But then I have a 5-year-old daughter, so she's in one room and she's usually just running around. She's very quiet when we're not on Zoom. Like when we're not on Zoom.
But as soon as you're on Zoom, she's zooming too.
I feel like the craziest thing happens. Like she just pulls out a guitar. She's like, like as soon as we get on the call. So I don't know what that's about, but
my cats have been joining a few calls.
Okay.
There's one right here. I'm surprised
let's
he's not over here. Kit Kat. He just looked. He doesn't care. Kabuto.
Wow.
Come here, bud. He just.
Yep.
He'll be over here.
Right. And when you're not calling for him, he'll be over there.
Kit generally likes to bother me when I'm talking. Caboodle does not. So Caboodle is the one that normally will come when I call him, and he is just sitting on the chair across the room.
Got it. Got it.
So his ears went up. He heard me. He looked me in the face, but
he acknowledged your presence.
He catted me. He had it. Caboodle.
So you are the first spoken word person we've had. We would love to hear a little bit about that. So we've had athletes, singers. I don't know. Do you know who we've had in the last 3 weeks?
I don't.
So no, it's okay. So we've had, and Leah, please jump in on this because I'll forget some people. We've had people from The Bachelor, Bachelorette. We had Orange is the New Black. We had a couple professional athletes from the Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday we had a really awesome.
Because you guys are right outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah, we are right outside of Philadelphia. Yes. We had an amazing show yesterday. We had a throwback to 90s Nickelodeon. So we had Mark Summers from Double Dare, Kirk Fogg from Legends of the Hidden Temple, Phil Moore from Nick Arcade, and Summer Sanders from Figure It Out.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't know, but Mike O'Malley, I was trying to contact him. I couldn't find his info. It's nowhere, literally. Apparently he has a Twitter. I didn't check there. But he popped on the Zoom for 2 seconds. He was the host of Guts.
Yes. Oh no, I remember Guts. I'm from Orlando, so
Oh, okay. So you were the hub.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could go to your local Target and probably see Phil Moore.
No, we'll say we lived in the suburbs, but I mean, Disney and Universal are kind of their own community in a weird way.
Yeah.
So honestly, I see more famous people in living in Atlanta than I ever did living in Florida.
Interesting. So tell us more about your spoken word. You seem like you've been everywhere. You've been in multiple publications. We would love to hear more about this. Some of our students have questions for you too, but
sure, absolutely.
However you want to roll this thing. I mean, it sounds like you
can ask questions first, and then so we can if any has a question, we can lead into the
Okay.
questions.
Well, how about we start with Jordan Satz, and then you can tell us more about yourself. So Jordan, go ahead and unmute yourself. You can go ahead and ask your question.
I just wanted to know how you got your ideas for your spoken word poetry and like what that process is like.
You mean the poetry in general or the specific poems?
Like how long does it usually take you to like get an idea and really like form it all together and create like the final draft?
Oh, so that's a loaded question because it depends on the poem, but for the most part, like, I don't want to sound like super earthy or flighty, but for the most part, it literally just pops up in my head. Like if that's an idea that I want to work with. I probably have tons, like 100 finished poems, and I probably have even more unfinished poems. I would definitely say like there's a writing process that is different for each poem. You know, some poems take, like the poem I Don't Owe You Shit was maybe like written in 2 hours. And I was just very angry because, you know, it was a true story. I was this guy that I dated in college, his friend, I had seen his friend 10 years later at the gas station or whatever. And so, you know, he was like, oh, you know, I should take you out, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, it's free food. I will go for free food because it's my favorite type of food. And so then at the end of, you know, like us eating, like he grabs my ass and I was just like, and it was, the craziest thing was it was after a conversation of me, you know, being very, you know, saying that I was irritated that, you know, there is this thing where men treat you any kind of way. And it has kind of calloused me over time where, you know, just people insert themselves and touch you in inappropriate ways. And he literally 20 minutes later did that. And so he was like, oh, now you owe me dinner. And I was like, I don't owe you shit. And I had like a very Issa Rae in the mirror, like, you know, moment. But it was even before the show even came out, because that poem was written in 2015. And I was just like, I don't owe you this. I don't owe you, you know, I don't owe you shit. And it just like came out.
You're the OG Issa.
Right. Yeah. So, and some poems, you know, the beginning of them are like written in the shower, and some poems I write in my head for days. And sometimes what I'll have to do is just kind of like take a piece and, you know, bring it down and write it out and then come back to it later. Some poems are just, they flow, and then some poems are just months of preparation. So like The Breakup was written over maybe the course of 6 months. White Privilege was written for over the course of a few months. The bulk of that was written. I had my feline son.
Was that a cat sneeze? Yeah. I don't know if I've ever heard that noise before.
Yeah, and there's the visual was worse. The visual was worse. So, you ever wiped a cat's nose?
No, not a big fan of the feline. But it's okay. Listen, I'm all down for kittens. I just think when they get older, they like.
Well, so one of my cats looks like a full-grown kitten. He's like permanently tiny, and that was the sneezer. And he's extremely affectionate. And the other one's coming over too. He's.
No. I thought like the first poem you were talking about, the I Don't Owe You Ish, I thought that was like written from your cat's perspective. I thought that like the cat was the one who gave you the inspiration. Okay.
There's one he's right there in the window. He's surveying and then there's the other one right here.
What's up, y'all?
The permanent kitten. Say hi, Boots. See. He's a sweetheart.
Very nice, very nice.
Okay, but enough of that. But
breaking down stereotypes every day.
Yeah, I know, right? But no, so each poem just kind of takes its own course, and I just let it. I don't really, because I'm always more concerned with the vulnerability and the honesty of the poem. I don't necessarily have to worry about the inspiration of it. You know, if it's something that I sincerely feel, and it's something that I've thought on and I've ruminated for a while. You know, it's easy for me to let it go and let the process happen. So some processes are really just a stream of consciousness. I'm just, you know, writing and going with the flow. And sometimes it's a bit more purposeful, but that's usually more in the editing process and making sure that it flows correctly and it sounds, concise and chronological, even if necessary. So that is more of but I'm always comparing and contrasting things anyway. That's just kind of how my mind works. I'm always looking at things in a parallel existence. And so that is kind of something that comes out a lot in my artwork is the compare and contrast. And that's really kind of what poetry is a lot too. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
We have a question from Allison. Allison, go ahead.
Hi. So I was kind of wondering like how you got started doing spoken word and writing and things like that.
So it probably has always kind of been a thing, just manifesting itself in different ways. I do remember as a kid, I would make up my own languages, and my mother was very irritated that I don't know why she, was upset, but I remember that she kept saying, "You don't know what you're saying." And so when I was little, I kind of like started learning Spanish at preschool. And then as I got older, I still was like I've always wanted to learn foreign languages ever since I could remember. And I took acting in high school, and my first poem was copywritten when I was 10. And it was just kind of like this, and I still remember the poem, but I was always writing. I was always interested in language. I was always interested in the concept of communication and getting a point across and the different levels of what one word can do. And I even remember I was sitting there because I had taken Latin for 4 semesters. And so I took a lot of foreign language, classes. And so I was well versed in how language worked, which I think has benefited me a lot more than it hasn't. I think that's one of the things is that I can take 2 synonyms and figure out which word would fit better because which one is more powerful and which one gets, is an even closer bridge to what I want to say. And so one of the things was I remember I was sitting in college and I was like, trans means across, means cross. And I was like, vêtement is French for clothing, cross-dressing. Oh my goodness. And I was like, just, taking words and picking them apart and seeing how like they worked. And so all of those things I do believe had an influence on what type of writer I was in the technical sense, for sure. I think they all kind of came out, and, I was a performer as a child. So, it just kind of merged into this one thing.
So,
yeah. Okay.
So essentially anything that, you can feel, you can put, pen to paper. It doesn't necessarily have to rhyme or flow.
No, I and that's the thing. I have some poems that definitely rhyme or have a rhythmic cadence for sure. And I have some poems that don't, and I don't necessarily know what I feel. And over the years they've rhymed less, but I still, if I want a poem that rhymes, I'm okay with that. I think it's interesting, especially in the South, the Southern poets, are more likely to rhyme. And up north, there's a bit more of a literary standpoint of, rhyming is bad. And for me, I think as a Black artist that lives in the South, it's kind of weird because like when we study, what is considered a classic poet, or, your Walt Whitmans or your old white poets, they were rhyming, they were the literaries of their time and they were rhyming. So, but now it's like, now it's seen as elementary to rhyme. And I feel like, rhyming is a skill set that you put into your work that can make it even more beautiful. And sometimes it can take away. It just depends on the poem. So I don't have a set formula for if this poem is going to have a rhythmic cadence or not. I just go with it. And some days it does and some days it doesn't.
Okay. All right. Do you have some stuff prepared for us today?
I mean, I'm always prepared to do a poem.
Okay. So. Well, I think we're definitely itching to hear a few things. Absolutely.
Does anybody have like poems that like any themes that they want to hear or anything that they're kind of going through? If there are any comments, I can't see the comments of the chat. Oh, okay.
Can you see him now?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Zoom is new for everybody. We're just figuring.
No, yeah. It's I mean, this everything is new for us. I mean, social distancing is new, and wearing masks in public, and it's not Halloween is new.
Right. I never felt weird or awkward until I was like wearing a mask to the bank and was like, give me my money. So
yeah, that was right. I really had a bandana on at the bank, and open the door.
I'm just trying to figure all this out. I don't know. Have you written anything lately about the quarantine? If not,
in my head, it's brewing. I wouldn't say it's written. It's brewing. It's brewing. It's brewing.
I don't think we're picky people. I just think we're excited.
Right. I think, it's because there's so much to write about for the quarantine. I haven't decided if I'm going to write about the protesters propping themselves up as these oppressed individuals because, and comparing it to slavery, which is weird because it's weird.
I saw
the same. The get over slavery. The get over slavery crowd is being the most vocal about comparing this to slavery. And it's like, imagine thinking that somebody forcing you to work for no money is the same as somebody asking you to stay home and you still getting paid for it.
Yep.
So, it is what it is. I would say.
So you got some stuff brewing.
I definitely have some stuff brewing, and even just the mechanics of keeping yourself sane, while, like washing your hands religiously and not being able to go outside, and, even just the mechanics of the summer feeling a lot longer and shorter at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's brewing. Like, and kind of back to what Jordan said, sometimes the thoughts come to me and I never, in a bunch. And then sometimes they kind of just come to me when they do. And I don't necessarily rush that process either way.
Okay. All right.
Let's see here.
I'm excited. Listen, anything that pops out.
You know what? I'm gonna start with this, and because we were kind of just talking about the protesters, and so I'm going to do this one because it kind of, in a way, reminds me of the same crowd that was so against people protesting for, things that were actually important versus, I want to go get a haircut,
or I want to go to Applebee's.
I want a 2-for-1.
Yep. Half off apps after 9 o'clock where we are.
Listen, the margaritas are kind of
for those that are of age.
Right.
Jordan,
exactly.
Allison.
Yes, exactly.
I was like, what are you talking about? I'm right here.
You because where are you guys located? Are you guys mostly in Pennsylvania, or are most of the students still in Pennsylvania, or they're like New York, or
where are you two at?
I'm in Upper Dublin in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm in North Jersey.
Okay. And then there are people connected to the live feed on Facebook, I'm assuming.
There are, and if you have any questions for Kyla, please enter.
Should I actually? Can I look on? Can I see it?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Do they have questions?
You would have to go to our page and pull it up.
Westchester.
No, you're gonna want to look up residence life and housing services. Let me know when you have that long title written.
I got it.
Comma, capital WCU, space, capital PA.
It's me.
Oh, you see it? Did you like it?
Yep, I see it.
Right.
Oh, it's very okay. That's gonna freak me out. Did anybody have questions over there?
We didn't ask.
Okay, there's a lag. All right. They hunt black bodies for sport, gold trophies, call them badges, Got to go into the neighborhoods, got to go into the natural habitats, got to go where the animals are at, got to snatch them back from Africa, paid vacation, go on safari, call it administrative leave. It is important to take a break after a big kill. Take a picture with it, frame it, front page coverage, set up a GoFundMe to ship the body back to the States, because getting away with murder, I mean, getting away with a big kill can sometimes be expensive. Heads secure with ropes, heads hung over from fireplaces, heads hung over from broken spine. Where is PETA when you need them? Some were worrying more about fur than coonskin. Some were worrying more about poached eggs than poached people. Stay away from their daughters. You know they got it out for African game. You know they will hunt you. Got to take down the pride. Too many lying around. Whoever kills an animal shall make it good. Leviticus 24:21. Won't God be happy? They're being such good Christians. Where's National Geographic? Some are snapping pictures of a noble savage feeding her cub, fattening him for slaughter. Her daughter doesn't go for as much on the black market, doesn't get as much media attention as killing a buck, doesn't cost as much as an NRA membership does. Everybody loves a good gun club. Everybody wants to get the next big kill. Cock guns and cock rifles. You know they always gonna get off. You know they always gonna go back to work. You know they always gonna return to the concrete jungle, because you know what they say. You do what you love, then you never work a day in your wild life.
I guess you can't hear all the snaps and claps, so everybody's snapping and clapping. That was awesome. So what's the inspiration behind that one?
So I think that was just kind of talking about police brutality, but how, comparing it to hunting, I mean, that's, like being able to kill something and not having to be responsible for it or having any recourse for it, and even being celebrated for it. Absolutely. I mean, if we think about, like, where I grew up was 20 minutes away from where Trayvon Martin was murdered. I grew up in Seminole County, Florida, which was it was a pretty affluent in terms of like the inland counties, because in Florida, the coastal counties are generally more affluent. But in terms of an inland county, it was really affluent. And so the racism was very different, because the racism was very subversive. It wasn't really I hate you because you're Black. It was a lot more about like a microaggressions involved in the racism there. And so I think for me, it was just, I grew up with a lot of people who like to hunt. And it was just a weird concept that killing something was something that could go without recourse in so many ways, and even celebrated, and what was the difference between a Black body and an animal if that's how we're thought about when we're alive.
Yeah, I totally get that, and I understand that. So maybe about a year ago, I want to say it was probably about a year ago, I met Trayvon Martin's mother. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna share my screen. Boom. She was.
You look totally different, balls.
I know. That's what I said. I gotta get this hair off, man. It's been nuts. It's been rough. So even the beard and the mustache is all shaped up and nice. It was crazy. But what I had.
Is that your book? Whose book is that?
That's actually my book. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I gave her a copy of it. So it's interesting that you're talking about microaggressions and stereotypes and racial biases, and all of these is all the work that I do. But what I had spoken with her about was how these inequalities have always been around, but unfortunately, it was her son who brought such a national spotlight to this, because I think that people are like, whoa, it's interesting how people make up the timeline. It's like slavery 2020, and I'm like, no, there was some stuff there. Let's talk about civil rights. Well, let's talk about Jim Crow. Let's talk about civil rights. Let's talk about the crack epidemic. Let's talk about the 80s. Let's talk about in the 90s, 3 strike system. Like, there's a lot that's going on here. We didn't just get to this place. And then I think that there was a moment 2008 where Obama was elected, and I would say the peaceful time, I would say, was from 2008 to 2012. It seemed like neighbors were getting along together. People didn't agree with his policies, but they didn't want him dead. People would say racist things about our president, but it wasn't like this buku crazy thing. And people of color felt a little bit more safe, even though that might not have been the reality. It's just what it felt like. Mm-hmm. And then this situation where, and Trayvon Martin was not the only one. We have Sandra, we got Eric.
Right. And what I think in a way, Trayvon Martin, was a kind of a microcosm of so many different things.
Absolutely.
I mean, this was, at the height of social media, when social media became a daily part of our lives, not just something that we would peruse every once in a while. Now social media was you wake up and you get on your phone. And so the information was able to spread that much quicker than it was previously. And it wasn't just the narrative or the story wasn't just how the media wanted it to be presented. Right. Again, coming from somebody who grew up there, it's not a complete shock because the microaggressions were so seemingly innocuous and they were so dangerous at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
it just popped that bubble for a lot of people. So
I think
go ahead.
He made such the perfect victim and the imperfect victim at the same time because he was a child, he was 17 and he was walking to his father's house back home, with a hoodie and iced tea. So clearly he wasn't doing anything. And
unarmed.
Right. And then it comes to a point where this person who was defending themselves, was the person who attacked him had the right to then turn around and kill him and defend himself, or, where was the fault lying? And so I think that there were a lot of people who, especially like Black people, who were confronted with some of their white, friends or coworkers or family members who still for some reason felt like a boy walking back to his father's house with no weapon in his hand. And the only weapon being his skin and his hoodie.
Yeah.
Was somehow at fault for his own death and his own murder, and so that I think that because it was so divisive, because people were still able to hold on to their racism, even through, such immense cognitive dissonance, it created that much of a bigger, situation. Sandra
Absolutely.
Bland was big because, what happened, like, it was a traffic ticket, but then people, she shouldn't have talked back to the police. Like, do you know how many people talk back to the police? Like being disrespectful or
that video.
Right. Or being upset and rightfully so, if you're pulled over, everybody's upset,
Right.
When
she created that video that 2 weeks prior where I think it was like it was either 2 weeks or 2 months where she was like, if I ever get killed while incarcerated, know that it wasn't me.
Coming in. Hello.
Right. Rowan, what's up?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
You looked up like, hello.
Hi.
So it's just interesting. I've actually driven on that same road where Sandra was.
Where was that?
I believe it was in Texas.
Right. I wonder if I've driven on that because I've driven all over Texas.
It's a major highway. I was speaking in Texas A&M, and I had to get to the airport. They actually have an airport on campus.
So College Station.
College Station. Well,
so
I don't think it was near College. I don't think it was near College Station. I didn't fly into College Station that time. I was at another.
But it's the road from Houston to College Station?
Yes.
I have been on that road.
Then I have
been on that road. Then I have been on that road a few times.
But what I was telling Trayvon Martin's mother was that, like, I think it just impacted people so much because I remember I was angry. When it first happened, but in my mind, wherever I was at that time in my development and my maturity, I was like, there's no way they're letting this guy get off. Like, are you kidding me? They're not letting this guy get off. And I lived under this illusion that when this process was done, he was going to get his.
And ironically, now I literally just thought about this way back when it happened. I wrote it was kind of like the poem that I performed, and it was just talking about the bears in Seminole County and the black bears in Seminole County, how they're protected species. And you can't hunt the black bears in Seminole County, but you can hunt the black boys in Seminole County. And somebody was like, oh, really, Kyla? Like, this is ridiculous. And of course, that person is not friends with me anymore on Facebook, but it was like, it made Trayvon Martin showed a lot of people who a lot of people they thought were who they really were.
Yeah.
You know, it really showed that, you know, there was this line that you couldn't cross, and you know, that line kept being moved, that goalpost kept being moved of where respectability politics is going to keep you alive. You know, it kept being moved because it was like, okay, this it was a child going home, you know, but he shouldn't have been going home that way. He shouldn't have been, you know, in a hoodie. He shouldn't have been out that late. You know, the goalpost kept moving, and it really showed who people really were.
Yeah. I just remember the night. Our town is very, very quiet, especially during the summer when there's no students. I mean, it's literally a ghost town, kind of like how it is right now. And I was running, and I just remember that night in particular, after the verdict was read, I just felt so uncomfortable running. And every time I was running, I was just looking behind my back, and no reason. Not that anybody was there to get me.
Well, and somebody was murdered recently for running.
Yeah.
There was a black man murdered in Texas, or was it here in Georgia? One of the two. But he was literally running, and a former sheriff and his son hunted him down because they thought he did something. He was in jogging clothes, and they shot him. And no indictments, nothing. And so I guess for me, you know, having grown up around in a very white neighborhood, my experience is I'm able to be disarming easier because I've spent a majority of my existence being disarming, being model minority. And so in some ways I have the privilege of slipping into that if I feel like danger is afoot, you know, if I'm in a, you know, I mean, I've literally been in all over the country, you know, and very, very, very white spaces. And so I'm able to kind of like, you know, hey, you know, code switch out of it, which I know a lot of people aren't able to do.
Yeah. Well, Rowan is here. I'm sure he's come to hear one of your awesome lyrics.
Hello, Rowan.
What else do you have for us?
Okay, let's see. I'll do some feministy poems. Let me see. Has anybody here heard any of my work? Just you could. I mean, I can. Has anybody here heard any of my work? Okay, Leah has. Okay, cool. So this one is.
Oh, I thought that was a question for the students. Yes, I did when I knew you were coming.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah.
I was like, oh, this question's for the students. Like, no.
Yeah, no. Okay. So this poem was written about this guy. This was originally a Facebook status, and it was written about a guy who was complaining about a man hitting on him. And he was like, and you know, and I was like, oh God, you know, not somebody hitting on you that you're not attracted to, like, you know, don't die. And so this poem kind of came out of that Facebook status. To the straight man who complained about being hit on by another man, I feel it is my duty to give you a few pointers that will keep you safe from unwanted advances and increase your chances of keeping your dignity and underwear intact. Number 1, don't show too much leg. No matter how hot it is outside, no matter how uncomfortable you are, unwanted advances are far more irritating than chafed legs. For it is better to have something on your skin than have somebody to try to get underneath it. I think that's like a Bible quote or something. Number 2, don't wear tight-fitting clothes. You know how you all love to wear those man-titty, tempting, tiny-ass workout shirts. Don't do that, even if you are working out. Actually, especially if you're working out. Men might stare at you while you're doing something so arbitrary as, I don't know, trying to stay healthy. They may even come up to you while you're listening to your headphones, or even worse, follow you around the gym or to your car or to your house. Number 3, don't smile. Even when they tell you to, and trust, they will tell you to. Even when instructed by a complete stranger to alter your mood to make them feel more comfortable, don't. It just invites unwanted attention, and exposed teeth can often be misread as, why, yes, I do the oral. Number 4, don't make any jokes. For any sign of having a sense of humor can be confused with I want to have sex. Now, it's a slippery slope. Slippery from the KY. Was that a joke? Oh no. Number 5, don't take pride in your appearance, because even though they will tell you to fix yourself up, a coiffed mane or an updo always screams, yes, undo this hair while you do me. 5A, don't, under any circumstances, grow an afro, because afros are slutty. They love to be touched all over by people they don't even know. Number 6, Don't drink. And I don't just mean alcoholic beverages, but something as simple as water can find something slipped into it for somebody who's slipped into you. It is best to match their thirst with yours. Number 7, don't have an opinion. Don't be too right or too smart or have a personality too big, because even though they may be taller than you, they will still attempt to bring you down to size. I think that's what they call flirting. Number 8, don't tell him no thank you when he asks for your number, because he might just, oh, wait, hold on. Number 8, don't go to sleep, and especially not around men who may find you attractive, because even though they may call themselves your friends, when men wake up to their friends, they wake up to penises drawn on their faces, while women wake up to penises drawn on their faces. Number 9, don't tell him no thank you when he asks you your phone number. Instead, tell him you have a boyfriend. Yes, I know you're straight. I got that. But no matter how firm or polite, a lot of men won't take no for an answer. They will, however, be more likely to respect the boundaries that another man has established. So basically, to go out there walking and talking and breathing and thinking and singing and drinking and dancing and prancing and doddering and blitzing and celebrating Christmas and having wishes and having dreams and waking up and wanting to be breathing, and you should be just fine. Mostly. Sorry.
Very nice. Very nice. Man, that's raw. That's really raw.
You guys don't have to like mute it if you like want to say something during the poem. I really don't care. You don't have to.
Oh, you want us in the background? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you could say something.
I was gonna say I was snapping like this whole time.
Let me see.
I just me and myself. I was in there like, yeah. Oh.
So it's funny. I think like every artist has a piece of their work. They're like, I don't get it. I don't know how people like. That's that one poem. People love that poem, and I'm like, okay. It was really a Facebook status, and somebody was like, "Can I turn this into a poem?" And I was like, "How are you gonna turn my work into your?" And so that's one of my mom's favorites too.
It happens. People say
Oh,
that.
did the other people have any questions? Rowan, did you have a question? We lost somebody for a second too.
I was gonna ask how you got into activism.
It's a good question.
Oh, that's it. Am I technically I guess I'm technically an activist. I guess, yeah. You know what? I think it kind of goes back to, you missed the conversation that we talked about, kind of globalism and how the United States is having a difficult time with dealing with having to sit down because we're so used to everything. The only time that we're used to sitting down is when we're being served. So I think for me, just growing up and always having an interest in other people's cultures, studying cultures, studying history, because I was originally a foreign language major, but I actually have a degree in history, and just knowing that I'm not the only person on the planet and understanding that, my autonomy, my sense of self is no more important than anybody else's. I think, I was able to kind of be a person to delineate that with words, and just because it wasn't my struggle doesn't mean it isn't a struggle at all. So I think maybe just, I guess accidentally being myself. I think that's the best way.
Yeah, I don't think anybody gets up and says, I want to be an activist.
I think it's just, I guess for me, I was just never a type of person to sit around. Well, my mom says, you can't save the world, Kyla. And I always say that's the only lie she's ever told me. But I think at the end of the day, it's very weird for me to sit around and watch things happen and be more focused on viewing them than intercepting them or being a part of them. So I've always just rooted for the little guy, I think, ever since I was little. Here's, we have someone joining us again. I don't know if my camera's on, but he was about to join us for a second.
Oh, he's about to come. Well, listen, we want to be a good steward of your time. So there's 2 more things.
Okay, so and I've got more poems, whatever you guys.
Oh, yeah, let's definitely hear another one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll
okay, so how many more poems do you want?
This will probably be the last one.
Okay, Let me see. I was gonna do white privilege, but I want to do. Let's see, what do I want to do? Because I was okay. Or you want to just do two more? I can do. Let me see.
How about we do two? Yeah, we could do two more. Yeah, do
Okay.
two.
So
We
this
just want to
one.
make sure that we're a good steward of your time, because
No, I mean I was literally just writing.
okay, great. Listen, give us both.
Okay, so this is a part two in a weird way of a older poem. That this is a newer piece. This is maybe a year old, and for that's young for a poem. I don't even know if it's that old. And this is back to kind of what Jordan was saying, like in the process of writing poems. This poem was a kind of a stream of consciousness poem. The first 4 lines came out of this poem, and then the rest of the poem came out. And when I say stream of consciousness, I also want people to understand, like, if I write about something, 99% of the time, it is an autobiographical piece. It is a story, from my life that was inspired by me. So the first few lines came out, and then the rest of the poem came out, and it was from another poem that I had written years ago. The open hand from a lover hurts a little bit more than the closed fist from an enemy. Tastes a little too familiar, too close to home, too close to childhood. Get your kids before someone else does. Put them back in their place, cowering quietly in corners, suffering in silence, trying to have nothing to cry about. Raising your voice is important in raising a child. Call it loving out loud. Treat me like a child, one who does not listen, one who needs discipline. If you never learn your lesson, then you're doomed to repeat it. Daddy called. He heard about that poem I wrote for my ex-boyfriend, demanded his number, wanted to speak to him. I couldn't understand why he was maybe he wanted to pass down words of wisdom, trade secrets. I couldn't understand why he was so angry. Maybe he was just jealous. Didn't I learn how to be loved the way he taught me? Wasn't I finally obeying? They say a girl learns how a man should treat her from her father. Didn't I seek his likeness in my lovers, attempting to recover fragments of my broken childhood and my bold smile? He and Daddy both drove Cadillacs. Both drove me crazy. Both gaslighted me, both exhausted me, both showed me that putting your foot down can easily backfire, both showed me that sometimes love was about accepting apologies you were never given, and sometimes it hurts. Daddy said, it is the thrill of the chase. He would have been proud at how fast I finally ran away. Dance with my daddy, dance with my man. Both showed me how to tiptoe around their tempers, so much in common I could have taken on both of their last names and still had the same ending. I do write funny poems sometimes.
Oh, I want a comical one.
Oh, okay. I'll have to read it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So this is a feministy poem. This is a feministy poem, and this is a poem that I actually forgot that I had, because I was like, yeah, I heard this poem. That was I was like, whose poem was that? And then I found it in my notes. I was like, oh, that was mine. Okay. So this is a fairly new poem. This is a fairly new poem. The biggest insult that you can ever give to a man, you guys unmute yourselves from this one, ladies, and Rowan. The biggest insult you can ever give to a man. Wait, am I allowed to curse? I think it's too late, but
we had Bill Burr on the other day. You're fine.
Okay, cool. Okay. I was like, it might be a little too late, but the biggest insult you can ever give to a man is to call him a pussy. It's to bring him down to the size of a dime and then watch him stretch to a bowling ball to bring forth life. I wonder what it feels like to be a dick all the time. Mostly flaccid, not classically attractive. You're not about this life, not as big as you claim. Y'all all talk most of the time. You're all soft. Your own hood won't even fuck with you, literally. Circumcision. You only have 2 little, you finally cut.
I was thinking, listen, the punchline came.
Your own hood won't even fuck with you, literally. Circumcision. only having two little friends who will go along with any sticky situation that you put them in, even when they're just acting salty. They're still just yes men, run and hide when shit gets too scary. Neither of you have a backbone or any bones at all. Always one a bone, no real ambition, always chilling or hanging to the left or right, depending on which hand you're always manhandled with, can't handle with, but always want to be a ruler. Barely able to control themselves, always making a mess, preferably on someone else, lacking discipline and aim with toilets, even though you're supposed to have better equipment, always paying attention to the wrong shit. Most men can never make it as a pussy. Would die if they were ever made to feel that small, not warm enough or flexible, stretchable, able to adapt to uncomfortable situations, people trying to slip you up, dicks all in your way. Most of y'all couldn't last a day, let alone 3 to 7 every 28, 30-year sentences. That is the thanks that you get for being able to give life and not just end it. Not being able to shed themselves every month in an introspective path of cleanliness. Most of y'all lack the resilience or the brilliance and creativity to be able to give life to the world and still milk it. Most men think that being a pussy is a bad thing, but like, do most men really think? Like, most men aren't that deep, or should I say this deep? Most men can't multitask like a pussy, have one human receiving pleasure and another on the opposite side receiving nourishment. Most men can never fake it for our egos, can never stretch as far as we go to make us feel better. Most men can never be their own personal weather channel, creator of desert conditions to the wettest rainstorms. Don't you know that's why they call her Mother Nature? Don't you know I can sun men like you? Oh, you don't remember that far back? Need a refresher? Because you find it an insult to be called one? Well, whenever you fix your lips to call someone a pussy, please don't forget where you come from.
Hey,
unless you're attached to, baby.
Very nice. Very nice. You got another one?
Yeah. I guess I can end with white privilege because that was like my most
Okay.
famous poem. So that's, that's the one that people look for. And, again, this was kind of about growing up in Seminole County and watching the inequities of growing up. And like, it's very weird, like I moved when I was 9, and it was just like very weird just watching myself try to progress in a world that was not comfortable with my progression, and not understanding that until I got older and could see it and in a different lens. My 5th grade teacher, I remember asking her if I could be tested for gifted, and she told me no, I wasn't even ready to be tested. But yet every single Friday, she would send me and 2 other students to a kindergarten class to tutor 3 students in reading. And we were sent there because we had the highest reading scores. So I was able to advance the education of a white child, but not my own education. And so just growing up where a lot of the teachers were not excited that their brightest student was also their darkest student, was my personal dealings with white privilege, or watching somebody put half the effort in and get twice the accolades as you, was something that I lived. It was a reality for me. And even just kind of growing up and being detached from your culture in a way, and then because you were taught, even if just subconsciously, that your culture was inferior, and so you wanted to separate yourself from who you were, and just kind of dealing with that, growing up. So, but this was the poem that that Lenny Kravitz saw, because he told me about it. I love you, Lenny. I'm sorry.
Shout out to Lenny if you see this.
Yes. Well, he follows me on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Lenny, if you see this, we want to have you on, and we'll bring Kyla back. So
listen, Lenny wants to be my baby daddy, he can do that too. Okay. I love Lenny Kravitz. I was already following him, so when I got the notification, I was like, and I broke my shoe. That's a true story. Okay. We learned your French. We learned your English, your Spanish, your Dutch, your Portuguese, your German. You learned our nothing. You called us stupid. That's white privilege. And I'm sure it probably hurts for you to hear those 2 words, kind of like gunshots and explosions from those commissioned to protect you, whispering past your ears, what is white privilege? It is the only 5 decades of legal acknowledgement expected to correct 400 years of white transgression. It is crack versus cocaine. Blacks receiving almost 20% longer sentences for the same exact offenses, like, for instance, a Black man without a record is less likely to get a job than a white felon. Maybe it's because we're lazy and we don't work hard enough. Like, what the fuck? 400 years in the same field literally is an incredible resume builder. It is Katrina answering the government's prayers of eugenics, Dick Cheney going fishing the next day, Condoleezza on a shopping spree, Bush in San Diego. But Kanye is the one you called crazy because, like, it only took the USA 2 days to get 2 days to get aid to Asia, but 5 for FEMA to get to Canal Street and Esplanade. It is the one Black kid who beat the shit out of the odds, but only thanks to Sandra Bullock, Michelle Pfeiffer, and the White Shadow. So now we all can make it. It is the only time thousands of white people are cheering for the Black kid to win is in a stadium. It is you looking at me crazy if I told you to go back to Europe, even though we didn't have a say and your great-grandparents came here voluntarily because you. All of a sudden having a problem with immigration. Like, this isn't even your nation. How the hell do you discover some shit that wasn't even missing to begin with? Columbus, our traditions. How white girls twerking in high definition with multicolored hair and purple nails, but it was ghetto when we did it. Or am I making you uncomfortable? Try a cram slave ship, or wait, slavery is over now. It's just called the prison system because, like, you're not racist because you don't use the N-word, but y'all use niggas every day. What is white privilege? It is the acceptance of bombs over Baghdad, but not over Boston. It is European history being taught as the major and African as an elective. It was learning about my people only 28 days. Like, I'm not Black every fucking second. As every white boy want to screw my brains out, not because I'm pretty, but because I'm pretty for a Black girl. As people thinking that Africa is one nation, is the waving of the Confederate flag like you didn't lose the battle, and then telling us to get over slavery. Is people saying that Black people destroyed neighborhoods, but forgetting that white people have destroyed continents. Is every time I bring up my plight, some white man has to tell me that I'm crazy, but is kind enough to praise my English or say that we're all given the same opportunities, even though he has a family history of wealth. And I don't even know my family history at all. It is the justification of police brutality. Like, what's that person do? Well, I'm sure it doesn't hurt as much when the victim doesn't look like you. It is people thinking that affirmative action is an unfair advantage instead of keeping the qualified from being unfairly disadvantaged, or throwing out a qualified applicant because their name sounded too African-American as Newports imported into Black communities with Black boys exported for weed. It is big plastic asses that are called fat when we naturally have them. It is an Australian woman whose new classic of rap music. It is everyone who reads this poem dismisses all this truth I just spit as reverse racism. That is white privilege. Thank you.
That was good. You're talking about Iggy Azalea, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, mate.
Yes.
Yes, mate, I am.
She's an interesting one.
That poem going viral was such an interesting thing, and people were actually tagging her in the poem.
That's awesome. That's awesome, though.
Some of, you know what? That poem, it was just a lot. There was a lot with that poem. I mean, there were so many ups with it, and there were so many downs. I mean, Chance the Rapper had posted on his stories. I mean, you know, it went hyper viral. I talked to the man who produced my favorite CD, you know, my favorite album, Salam Remy. He produced Back to Black. And so there were a lot of those things. There was definitely a lot of hate mail. And, you know, it was a lot of hate mail. You know, I think at the very least, when people get upset about facts, then that's when you know you're doing something right. When people are angry at you for being factual, then that's when you know you're doing something right. So it was weird, people not wanting to credit my work or putting somebody else's name on it, and you know, not wanting to put my name on it. It was very, very weird time. Very weird time. Yeah, I always tell the story about how I was going like super viral, and I was in the lift crying, but I was the one driving the lift.
That's real. That's real. So, Kyla, Jenee, Lacey, everybody. Can you give us your social media handles? How can people follow you?
My Twitter is Kyla_Lacey. It doesn't have a lot of followers because I keep getting kicked off.
Okay.
But Kyla_Lacey. My Instagram is Kyla J. Lacey. And that has a lot of followers, and I'm more active.
Oh, yeah. I see it. I'm on it right now. I'm going to follow you. You're going to follow back because we're going to.
Okay, I will follow back.
All right.
And then.
Because we're going to be posting, so.
And then my Facebook is Kyla, Jenee, Lacey. And one is a fan page, and one is hi J Stats. Hey Just Dollars.
That's me, yeah.
Um
Once you made it, you can't go back. And I made it such a long time ago. I can't change it.
oh wait, somebody's I guess I have another call at 7.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, my Facebook is a bit more where the party's at. My personal page, but I have like 15,000 followers on my personal page, so I can't I don't have any room for friends. But you're more than welcome to engage and follow and say hi, and I follow your page back. I can,
There we go.
And
So what we do in heading out is that we let our speakers have the last word. So you can
okay.
the life or your meaning to what it is or what you want to leave with the students. We don't give you
what do I want to leave with the students?
Yeah.
So I actually, right before I jumped on this call, I was on a call with a poet's going through a rough time, a few years younger, and the lesson that I imparted with him was, thanks, Caboodle. The lesson that I left with him was a lesson that I was taught in college, something that my German college professor said. And I do believe that in a way it changed the trajectory of who I am as a person, because I clearly still remember it. She said, the world punishes liars. The world rewards liars and punishes people who tell you the truth. And we socialize people to lie to us. And so in real people life, I'm known for my brutal honesty, but I'm also known for holding myself accountable just as much as I hold others accountable. But I remember that because I remember her saying that she's less likely to punish her children if they say, hey, this is what I've done. And I think about how we do reward people and knowing that they're lying to us, and we accept that lie way better than we accept that truth, even if we know better, even if we know it's a lie. So I think that's one thing I would like to impart. You don't owe anybody an overnight success story. I think I'd like to impart that one because that's important. And or my newer one is, you can't claim that someplace isn't your ceiling if you were still in the room telling people that. Like, you can't say this isn't my ceiling while you're in the room with the people you're telling that to, because you're clearly sharing the same ceiling. You're still, so if you feel like you're too good for a situation, you shouldn't be in the situation that you feel you're too good for.
Yeah, I like that.
That made any sense.
It did. Kyla, Jenee, Lacey, everybody, thank you so much for coming and being with us all today. It was an honor. We would love to have you on campus.
I would love to come and give a full show when everybody doesn't have the cooties.
Yeah.
Or at least they had their cootie shot.
No, I hear
and
that.
You're, an hour and a half away from New York?
Yeah, about an hour and a half. Oh, no. About 2 hours away from New York, but we're about 30 minutes away from Philly.
That's fine.
So for those who are still on this call, it is not too late to sign up for these awesome 2 speakers who are coming up after Kyla.
Oh, you have Claudia Jordan on after me. Look at that.
If you want to be on that call.
Wait, so that's the guy wait a minute. I would love to talk to him because we have somebody in common.
Okay, yeah. Well, when we get off this line, we'll shoot you the Zoom information. You can come on back.
Yeah.
That's not a problem at all.
Okay.
So you can still sign up for that. For those who don't know about next week's stuff, we have these speakers. We'll just give you a little sneak peek. I wish I
would have got that flyer. That's such a cute flyer.
Hey, thank you. We have a flyer maker. Her name is Bree. She's awesome. Eben, he did some work with Rick and Morty. Will, he has a show on Oprah's Own. He also is one of the villains on Black Lightning on the CW. Kate Flannery from The Office. Trav Q, internet comedian. Alton J. Harris, he is on almost every single sports show on ESPN. Elijah Connor, he's the infamous meme. However, he can sing. He's going to be coming singing for us. Vince Papale, previous Eagles quarterback. Brian Dawkins, Eagles safety. Jordan, I'm just going through these. Grownish, Walter E. Jones, past Black Power Ranger from the original cast. Francia Grownish, and Marquet Richardson from Dear White People. Woo!
Can you hook us up?
Yeah, let us know which one of these you want to be